All right, so today we're going to work on the dress and the top that she's wearing. It's an orangey, beautiful color. So it's a sweater, and we'll do first the dress. So what I'm doing here, what I did is I put a layer of black. I put ivory black, any black you have. And now I'm going to take black, bit of white, mix them. It's like a soft gray. And I'm going to highlight where you can see her, sorry, her shoulder is, because you're going to get a little bit more light in this area. And the back too, because it's not flat. So you can see right now it's a little bit too strong. So I'm going to take, which is fine. I'm going to take black again, wipe my brush. Don't clean your brush, just wipe it. Add the black, and then try to mix these two colors together, because the only reason this is looking so strong is just because the black underneath is completely dry. If the black is kind of semi-dry or wet, it's easier to blend. And honestly, you're not going to see a lot of these details because we're going to put flowers over this, so it would be fine. I take more black now, and then just kind of soften all this. It will dry darker. I'm usually not concerned about the color when I first put it on. It just gives me a little bit of highlight in here. All right, that's good. I mean, we could do the same thing with the dress down here, and it's optional. You don't have to, because again, by the time we put the pattern on, you can hardly see all of this. Just a hint of some movement. And again, this is optional. I'll leave it there at this point. Now, for the flowers on the dress, I'm going to use cadmium red light, a bit of green, any green, sap green, any green you have. Let's put a bit more. And then I'm going to take a round brush, small round brush. Okay. And I'm going to zoom in for you to see how I do this, which is very easy and it will not take time. It looks busy. It looks like it's going to take time, and it's not. That can be done quickly. Better if I wait for the black to dry, but by the time I'm going to start here inside. By the time I get to this part, it should be dry. So I'm going to mix cadmium red light. I'm going to put a little bit of sap green in it, or green, touch, very, very small amount. You don't want the red to turn brown. You take white, put it in, and that will give me a nice kind of a nice pink that is subdued. It's not too strong. And also, this color I'm going to use this cadmium red light with the sweater eventually. So I'm going to start from the inside. I'm going to watch, have it, I'm going to, use the reference as a guideline. Really, it's not, that's it. That's all I'm doing. And you'll see in a minute, once I start adding the rest of the colors, the greens and the whites, and it will look fine. It will look interesting. It will look, you don't need more than that. Just a couple of touches. The pattern should go with the movement of her legs and the movement of the dress. Now we're going down, again, down. Let's put a couple. See how fast? Just a couple of dots. And it will dry darker. Trying to keep an eye on the reference, but not copy it exactly the same, just to, guideline to the movement. How is the pattern going? Sometimes in certain areas you will get a cluster of the pattern where the flowers are too close to each other. It's just because the way the dress is folding. So we're not going into a lot of detail. So these are closer to each other because there's a fold in here. And then into this. Yep, I can see that in the reference in this area, there's like a cluster of pattern here where it's folding, the fabric is folding. And even if you don't get the movement the right way the first time, you can always put black on and then try again. Okay, let's do the top part and we'll come back to this. There's a bit of white. We're going to be putting a bit of white eventually. This is where the sleeve is, and here. So you see the pattern a lot more than the rest of the dress and the back. Again, this is where the sleeve is. So there's a movement of a round movement here. Not much, just a bit. One or two peeking from here. Peeking out. All right. All right. Good. Now, let's take a little bit of white. The white is kind of mixed with a bit of red, so it's not stark white. Also, the pattern on the back is a little bit lighter than on the sleeve, because this has more light than this part. So when I'm putting a white here, I put less and I put more on the back. Okay, that's it. We'll come back for the green actually. All right, let's see, let's do the green. Wipe my brush, take green, put white on my green, or whatever I have here as far as color, and put a hint of green in there. Okay, that's it. Done. Perfect. Really nice. There. I'm going to do the bottom part. So again, we put all of the red. Now we're going to take a little bit of white, mix it with red so it's not stark white again, and come over here and just put a couple of little kind of white dots on the big ones. Leave the small ones. Now I can go back. Big ones, I mean small ones like these dots, I'm going to leave them. I'm not going to put any more detail on that or white on it. And I can go back when I'm done and see if I have, you know, if the pattern needs to be adjusted between each one of them, like maybe remove something, add something. I will do this after. But honestly, whatever you put is fine. You will see it's just a hint, a suggestion of a pattern. It's not the pattern itself that we want to pay attention to, it's the movement of the pattern. If it's easier for you to put a line first, lines to follow for the pattern, go ahead, do that, but there's no need. Just kind of go in and put a couple of dots here and there, and that will be more than enough. There. Perfect. All right. See? Make sure this is clear. All right, clear. Okay. Let's take green, white, again, some more green, white, water your paint, not water it down, but not too thick, because when it's not too thick, it will dry darker. All right, done. So it took us 15 minutes to do this. All right, now for the sweater, let's go to the sweater. Let's leave this alone and then we'll come back to it if it needs to be adjusted. For the sweater, I'm going to take cadmium red light, raw umber, and Naples yellow. I'm going to mix both colors, cadmium red light and, raw umber and cadmium red light together. So I have enough paint in here. Let's go down there so you can see what I'm doing. I don't think we'll need white with this. Raw umber will give me this dark color that I need first so I can highlight after, mixed with cadmium red light. I'm working with the movement of the sweater. I'm not doing this. I'm just giving it a specific pattern, and it helps when you're highlighting. If I want my color to be, or my paint to be darker, I can add just a bit more of the raw umber. Okay, this is going to dry darker, which is great, because that's what I need. I need it to dry darker. I'm going to change my brush into a smaller one. I'm using both. In both cases, I'm using a flat or a bright. The folds are going this way direction. I follow the direction of the folds, and I'm also leaving a very small line in between just to give me an idea, although actually this is going to be one. Now let's take the other one. I know that the sleeve is darker down here, so I'm adding more of the raw umber. And it's lighter up here. So I don't need to have a very dark color in there. Okay. Now, while this is drying, I'm going to take a round brush and I'm going to take more of the raw umber, mix it a bit with some reds. And while it's drying, the paint is drying, I'm going to take, oh, okay, maybe I'm just I'm going to take a tiny bit of raw umber and go in, adjust your darks. Because the darks that you see here, when I adjust them, that will give me an idea of where the folds are, and it will be much easier when I'm highlighting. Again, one more. Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but in this reference, there are a couple of very, very good folds in there, big ones, major ones that we can use. And again, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. I will adjust these folds once I start putting the highlights, soften them or highlight them. And there's another one that's coming from here to here. There's another one that's really dark right there. Okay, now, while this is drying, I'm going to take cadmium red light, a bit of raw umber, and Naples yellow. This is a medium tone right now, and that would give me a salmon color that's beautiful, peach color, but it's very, very nice color. Now, because I'm highlighting, I'm going to see more of the, let's take more of a dry brush. Yeah, that's better. Because it makes it fuzzier. Fuzzy, kind of. I think I should leave it a bit because it's still wet. I can see that the paint is lifting underneath and it's not giving me the right. Yeah, should leave it to dry a bit. See? I'll continue a bit and see. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having it uneven, looking uneven. I can wait for it to dry and then put another layer. Just this one here is not that sharp. And I'm trying to make sure that the edges are fuzzy, if possible. Yeah, it'd be better if it's not a sharp edge, it's a fuzzy kind of. Fuzzy, meaning I am pushing the paint out. So, I'll show you in a minute. Any edge, I try to go back and push the paint out. So you get that, instead of getting a sharp edge, you're getting a soft edge. Now, let's do this. This is just the mid-tone. The finish, or the what you're seeing here, what I'm getting in terms of brushstroke in here is a bit different, because if you've noticed, because I'm working on wood, and I'm not working on a canvas. Just wanted to see. There's no reason. I just wanted to try. But I think working on a canvas is much better for something like this. Okay, I had to stop a bit to make sure that the paint is dry. Otherwise, it's lifting, and I can't get the right texture. Okay, let's do that one more time. One more layer, or maybe more than one more layer. I'm going to take again red, raw umber, a little bit of raw umber, not much, and more of the cadmium, or I'm sorry, Naples yellow. Maybe a little bit of white at this point, because there's a strong highlight. In certain areas, you will see a very strong light. So a smaller brush would be better. Anytime I have a lot of highlights, I try to make sure that my brush is smaller, get more detail and more control. Not detail, control. Now I see here more highlights. Let's take a little bit more white. And then I'm gonna be putting more highlights over this area. I will go back and add mid-tone in between to blend them, blend the highlight. Okay, again, load my brush, go back and just trying to make it have a fuzzy kind of soft edge. With the corner of my brush, it's a dry brush, dry paint. Let's add a little bit of these highlights in here. Again, and usually the more layers you put, the nicer it looks of paint. So right now it might look a bit messy, doesn't look that great for now, but I'm just putting trying to put where the highlight is. Light is coming from, it helps with the folds. Now I can take more red. Mid-tones, and yep, that's a good color. Perfect. Okay. Leaving some of the darks showing for the folds. And with the corner of my brush, I'm trying to mix the highlight with the mid-tone right here. This is perfect. Okay. Doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Again. This is kind of cleaning up the color as well. First layer was, mix the color mixes a bit with the darks underneath, and it looks a bit messy. Turning my brush around so I can have kind of a mixing the darks and lights in a nice way. Again, let's do this here, corner of my brush. take a bit of highlights, white, put it in. Since this is wet, it's easier to blend. I'm gonna soft blending in here. Soften the darks. Same with this part. So we have dark, medium, light. And also I am softening the darks with a bit of changing the values a bit. Taking a little bit more white and you know, just kind of putting back the highlight that I lost. Also, acrylic dries darker, so most of the time sometimes it needs to be adjusted. All right. Adding white. White to the color I have, not white alone, of course. Pay attention to the shape of the highlight. Now, take more red, a little bit of raw umber, touch, very, very small. Okay. Perfect. I'm using the corner of my brush to blend, use a dry brush technique. Go back and forth between dark and light, especially because now the light is, or the paint is wet. It's easier to blend. My brush was a bit dry, so I dip the tip of my brush in water. Okay, I lost some of the darks underneath. Now, I'm going to go back to my smaller brush, round brush, because I have more control over the brush stroke, or to adjust the darks. So I'm taking here, if I find that I'm mixing red and raw umber. If I find that the red and raw umber is not enough, I would use just raw umber. Again, some of this here. I'm adding red, white to my red. And I'm gonna come here and enhance the highlight on the back with a round brush. Makes a big difference where you put the highlight. That's why I keep glancing at the reference. So in this case, if I put the highlight too close to the edge, it might flatten the pleat, the crease. So I try to put it a little bit away from the edge to give it that the thickness, give the fold a thickness instead of flat. If you put it away from the edge of the crease, it will give you more thick. It will look thicker. The actual fabric. Inside, not outside. I'm talking about the inside part. So if I put this highlight close to this edge, it will flatten the actual fabric. It makes it thinner. It makes a fabric thinner. But if you want to show a thick fabric, because thick fabric, when it folds, it has different kind of, it catches the light differently than from a thin one. Now at this point, I go back and I just adjust my highlights. Wait for it to dry, adjust again, if it needs to be adjusting. If you find that it's fine and it looks exactly the way you want it, just leave it alone and it'll be fine. This fabric needs to be, this part needs to go in a bit. So I will be adjusting this separately off camera. I'm going to put the color of the wall again on behind here and the cushion. I was wondering why it looks like this. It's just I forgot to fold the sweater in. So this part should be in. All right, so let's see. Honestly, if you're working on a canvas, it will look much better. This is, again, wood, and wood has a different kind of surface and texture. A bit of highlights again. This is the last part of this project. Right. It's good. Okay, we're done. All right, so I adjusted the sweater in the back and right here, using the color of the wall again and the cushion. All right, this project is done.